Y'all, tour season is back. We are headed to the Northeast once again with our podcast Through the Gryffindor. If you'd like to come out and see us in person, links in the description down below. Hey, brother! Why does Lupin totally abandon Harry in Goblet of Fire? Or is it Harry who forgets about him? Because despite Lupin getting to know Harry for an entire year, teaching him his most signature spell, being the best teacher Harry's had in his best subject, and going on long walks for long talks in the woods, on bridges and classrooms and on trains,
it's all right, it's chocolate.
Lupin almost immediately gets overshadowed by Sirius's role as Harry's godfather, and Lupin fades into the motley crew of support staff with an occasional nugget of sage wisdom. And it happens immediately. Right at the start of Book 4, Harry awakens from the dream featuring Voldemort, Wormtail, and the death of Frank Price in the middle of the night. It's the first time that Harry's had the forged connection between Voldemort and himself, and Harry is understandably in a state.
Hermione, bad dream.
And then the book hands you just one of those horrendous Harry gut punch moments. Harry kneaded his forehead with his knuckles. What he really wanted, and it felt almost shameful to admit it to himself, was someone like a parent, an adult wizard whose advice he could ask without feeling stupid, someone who cared about him, who had experience with dark magic. Shameful to admit to yourself? You were 14, my guy. You're more than welcome to ask an adult for help.
But I am the chosen one.
Yeah, but you don't know that yet.
Okay, sorry.
The irony we've always gotten stuck on is that Harry ultimately realized he does have someone he can ask, and he couldn't believe it had taken him so long to realize.
Sirius Black!
Harry, my boy, the person that you have just described based on your own experiences is not your on-the-run for falsely accused murder godfather, but your dad's other best friend who you actually got to know and asked advice about dark creatures from.
Ridiculous!
Do you remember that, Harry? Do you remember having those really personal talks with Lupin about what you hear when Dementors get near you and the experience of reliving your parents' deaths over and over again? Or do you remember this?
Suggests that what you fear the most is fear itself.
Then don't forget this, Gem. What I'm most proud of this year is how much you, the chosen one, Harry Potter, have learned. That's what he said, it's a direct quote. And do you remember this, Harry? Do you remember any of this? Because obviously not! Well, at long last, we explain why, despite all roads leading to Lupin, Harry takes the path bridge. We explain it, okay? Hey, brother! But y'all, we gotta take a brief pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Whether it's Harry reaching out to Lupin or the other way around, there's a great message inside of today's topic. Most of our loved ones aren't wrongly accused felons on the run or, werewolves, and you can actually reach them, and owls probably aren't even required. Though if you have trained owls to do this, please by all means continue. The point is, you're never in this alone. You don't have to figure it out all by yourself. It's hard to take down the metaphorical dragons in your life, but a great way to have steady support from a third party is trying out therapy. And when my own personal therapy journey began, it was because I had some heavy water demons, if you will, weighing on me. But as time went on, those sessions helped guide me back to center, and then my ongoing sessions were almost more like maintenance, ward off new problems before they grew into bigger ones. And BetterHelp can help do the same for you. They can match you with a licensed therapist after just a short questionnaire. You don't have to be on this journey alone. Find support and have somebody with you in therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/super. That's betterhelp.com/super. Link in the description down below. Now back to the video. Okay, I have seriously dwelt, is that a word? I'm going with it, on this one for a long time. Like, not only does Lupin feel like the obvious person Harry should write to the morning after his scar hurts, but he is also, high and away, the most obvious person to be asking for help regarding the Triwizard Tournament later that year. I mean, take the first task, for example, fighting a dragon. It's not like Sirius didn't have a suggestion, i.e. hitting it with the conjunctivitis curse in the eyes. That's what Krum did, Hermione whispered. Like, did you not just spend an entire year learning how to fight against dark creatures from a different one of your dad's best buds, a best bud who, kind of becomes a dark creature once a month? It feels like he may have had some pointers there, and don't even get me started on the second task where Harry has to navigate the lake. I mean, he literally ends up facing Grindylows, a creature Lupin specifically taught them about the year before. It's Lupin's password security question. What creature sat in the corner the first time that Harry Potter visited my office at Hogwarts, he said, giving Harry a small shake. Answer me! A Grindylow in its egg, wasn't it? The Grindylows! I ask you. You think Lupin knows how to fight Grindylows, but not how to breathe underwater? Like, one letter could have solved this entire thing for you.
Harry, great to hear from you. It's always good to get post because I'm unemployed and have nothing to do all day but reminisce about being your teacher. Glad to hear the conjunctivitis curse worked on the dragons. Impressed you managed to use Waddy Wassy. Navigating the lake will be tricky, but I know you're more than capable of handling the Grindylows. Your best bet underwater would of course be Gillyweed, but the only place you'll find it is in the castle in Snape's office, and I know James would never encourage you to use his cloak and the map for such mischief. Also, the bobblehead charm is a useful little spell in a pinch. Yours sincerely at a distance, R.J. Lupin. P.S. Snape's office is the third door on the dungeon left, though, in case you'd forgotten.
All joking aside, for as unhelpful as the library is and as inaccessible as Sirius so often is, this really feels like the obvious stone that just goes left unturned. So for us, the question is, why? Like, is this like a time turner problem? Simply from a writer's point of view, Lupin is too much of a cure-all? Like, keep him largely off page and hope that we don't ask questions? Well, welcome to the channel, because that's literally all we do. And as always, our motto here at SCB is that there's no such thing as plot holes, only opportunities for theories. And, you know, also to make fun of the cursed child where, yeah, someone actually stole a time turner and it's back and more convoluted than ever. They stole two? And the Deus Ex Machina is the reveal that the second object that is already a Deus Ex Machina device was stolen? Like, I can't. I mean, it's a great show. Tom Felton. Holy cow. Scared Potter? You wish. But I can't. Anyway, the first thing that I think is vital to look at actually has everything to do with support systems within the wizarding world. Whether it's just the wizarding community being fairly small in comparison to the outside world, or the first and second wizarding worlds, or just good old-fashioned kindness, the idea of found families lives at the very heart of the Harry Potter saga. For example, Harry generously allows the Dursleys to live in the home just outside his cupboard under the stairs. Guys, I'm kidding.
Bring my coffee, boy.
But on the flip side, there's of course the Weasleys. The Weasleys are really the quintessential example and demonstrate Dumbledore's own point that plenty of wizarding families gladly would have taken Harry in and raised him as their own. But this relationship with the Weasleys also only grows with time until Sirius and Molly ultimately have a row. "He's not your son," said Sirius quietly. "He's as good as," said Mrs. Weasley fiercely. "Who else has he got? He's got me." And have Sirius he does. You know, for like a while. Spoilers. But on that note, Lupin and Sirius offer almost the inverse of each other in terms of their relationship with Harry. Because for Sirius, the door is wide open. Well, I say that, the door is actually magically concealed, but once it's revealed, wide open. Harry is welcome into his life at literally any and every moment, starting with almost the instant his innocence is established, and his first solo conversation with Harry is inviting him to come live with him.
Well, I can understand if you choose to stay with your aunt and uncle. But if you ever wanted a different home...
Well, come and live with you.
It is so nice to meet you at long last. Want to live together? A glorious dream before the Dementors show up and provide the issue Sirius and Harry constantly face. Availability to each other. Sirius is basically always on the run and or stuck in Grimmauld Place. Lupin, on the other hand, has the opposite approach. His availability is massive. It's difficult for him to get work or friends, so presumably he has a lot of free time. But unlike Sirius, Lupin's door is just barely cracked when it comes to Harry. And I know that might sound kind of surprising, because he's a great teacher and a great help to Harry and often willing to give sage advice, but is also very reluctant to get close to Harry. Think about it. On their first ever meeting on the train, he addresses Harry by name after Harry reawakens from the Dementor encounter, but fails to say how he knew his name, leaving Harry to wonder if it was just his lightning scar giving him away.
The what? The scar. Oh, yeah. Wicked.
A stunning likeness. Then, when Harry asks for Patronus lessons, he seriously has to push before Lupin relents and begins teaching him. When Harry tells him he hears his father, he responds, "You heard James?" And when pressed by Harry, Lupin reveals that he knew James, but not that they were like, best friends. And later, when Harry learns that James and Sirius were friends, he asks Lupin if he also knew Sirius, and he says he did, or thought he did. But again, it fails to mention the full extent of their otherwise iconic friendship. And then, I gotta roll up the sleeves for this one, when Lupin discovers Harry has the Marauders map and tells him that he knows the map makers, he holds back that he is one of the map makers, along with Harry's own father. Information I am positive would be relevant to Harry.
It was my dad.
Do you see the pattern? It's not that Lupin isn't extremely helpful to Harry, it's that on a personal level, he is never more open with Harry than he is minimally required to be in whatever situation they're in, at least in Prisoner of Azkaban. But of course, the important thing to understand about Lupin is that this isn't because he doesn't care about Harry, it's quite the opposite. Lupin spends most of his life believing that people are better off if he doesn't get too close to them. He's a werewolf, unemployed for huge stretches of his life, constantly worried he's dangerous, burdensome, or unwanted. Even among his closest friends, Lupin often feels like an outsider. So on the one hand, you have Sirius bursting into Harry's life like, I'm your family now! Lupin's instinct, on the other hand, is almost always restraint. He repeats the pattern later on with Tonks too, and then again with Teddy, where ironically, this is when he does reach out to Harry to try and help him. This is when Harry is doing all of the Horcrux hunting and is not allowed to share his mission with anyone at all. And Lupin convinces himself it's growth, but Harry sees straight through it, and that's what causes Harry to yell at him and kick him out of Grimmauld Place. A scene that I have to tell you just on a personal level is like broken glass straight to my heart every time. Point is, Lupin cares deeply about Harry, but he's terrified of becoming someone that Harry depends on. So with that, even throughout Goblet, he never reaches out to Harry. Not when he finds out about him getting entered into the tournament, not for his birthday, not even a Christmas card.
Harry Potter!
Sirius, on the other hand, if you recall, sends Harry a letter using a wild owl that he found in a tree literally as soon as he can. That's Pigwidgeon, who ultimately goes to Ron. And included in that letter is a threat to the Dursleys and a promise that they will see each other soon.
And you can always find them. In here.
Bear in mind that at this point in time, Harry and Sirius have said less than 20 sentences to each other at this point? Maybe. Not to mention, Sirius got Harry a firebolt racing broom before Harry even knew the whole story. Do you see the difference? Should Harry have written to Lupin too? Probably, but also Lupin is the adult here, and the onus is on him to keep that relationship door open, and he just simply doesn't. Lupin cares deeply for Harry, that is obvious, but he never chooses Harry. Sirius is never available, but in the meantime is stealing owls, tropical birds, breaking into homes to use their fireplaces, living in caves, eating rats, and risking capture in public. In fact, when Sirius finally does fall through the veil, it's his failure to answer Harry's call that is the proof in Harry's mind that he is actually gone. Some part of him realized, even as he fought to break free from Lupin, that Sirius had never kept him waiting before. Sirius had risked everything, always to see Harry, to help him. If Sirius was not reappearing out of that archway when Harry was yelling for him, as though his life depended on it, the only possible explanation was that he could not come back, that he really was dead, in case the context was lacking. That is the tragedy of Lupin and Harry. Lupin cared deeply about Harry, but Sirius made sure Harry knew it. What I think is really the chills moment of this entire saga, though, has everything to do with Harry's relationship with Lupin's own son, Teddy, where Harry does ultimately open the door for Teddy and make sure that he knows that he is always welcome at the Potters. Guys, as always, thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any future Harry Potter action from us. If you'd like to see our theory, and it is one of our all-time favorites, about a different super popular character that may slowly becoming a wolf, maybe not a werewolf, you can check out this video right over here. But otherwise, until next time, never forget, ducks go in cups.